Hey there, I am your fellow bearded wench. I am desperate to talk about the latest government decision with our education system to scrap sex ed for under nines in our schools in the UK, and also to basically, in my opinion, bring back Section 28 for 9-year-olds plus. And what I mean by Section 28, that was a legal government legislation when I was a teenager struggling with my sexuality, and it did not allow any educational environments to discuss homosexuality or be seen as promoting it within an educational setting. And the government recently stated and stipulated basically that no educational environments, no schools are able to discuss with any students about different genders other than male and female. They're not allowed to talk about transgender identities, non-binary identities, gay and lesbian sexualities or bisexuality, and everything and anything in between relating to queer culture. I am very alarmed and very concerned about this. It shows to people that it could be something that is wrong because they're not willing to allow it to be discussed. Because people are fearful and fret about things like that if the government say, oh no, we're not talking about it, we're just going to stick to biology, like biological sex, biological sexual intercourse, and we're not going to discuss anything else. We're going to brush it all under the rug and pretend that it doesn't exist. The young people nowadays, back in my day it wasn't so much, but you've got the internet at your fingertips, and my concern really to this situation is they'll be going elsewhere for education and information, which may or may not be right if they're going online to get that help and support. They could be groomed, they could be looking at safe sexual health, and it could be misguided and not the truth, and they could put themselves at real risk and harm if they are sexually active and are from the queer community and they don't know how to practice safe sex because it's not going to be discussed or taught in our educational systems. And I was lucky when I was young that we had Young Gay Sefton, and that's where I got my help and support, and I will be truly forever grateful for having that space. But again, how many youth centres are open now for our young people to attend? And within the minority, within that small percentage of youth centres, how many of them are specifically dedicated to the queer community to offer that help and support, to ensure that they're getting the right information on how to keep themselves safe, basically. I feel like we've gone back in time. Like, I'm 41 now. I come out when I was 14. These topics should just be normalised. I mean, under nines were taught about relationships, not full-on sexual education. And I think when you come from an enclosed community or within your family, it is very what you would stereotype as the nuclear family, where you have a mum and you have a dad and maybe another sibling. You know, some children might not be educated or exposed isn't the right word, but I'm going to use it anyway, to alternative family environments, such as a child having two mums, or a child having two dads, or a child having trans parents, or a child living with a grandparent, or a child with non-binary parents. If they're not getting that information from the family home, and they're not going to be taught about that alternative family environment within an educational setting such as school, then they're not going to know about it, and it could potentially turn into something very malicious because it's not been highlighted, it's not been discussed. Therefore, the assumption would be that it's wrong, because if it wasn't wrong, it would be highlighted, it would be discussed, it would be open, it would be classed as normal. But now the queer community is being demoted to being subnormal because the government don't want it discussed. They don't want to have that hassle of educating to our children and young people that it's okay to be lesbian, it's okay to be non-binary, it's okay to be gay, it's okay to be trans, it's okay to be queer, it's fine. It's exactly the same, it's not different. And therefore, if we did have that open discussion about queerness, then it would be seen as normal, and people would not be judged for being queer. People would not be bullied or threatened or want to take their own life. That's what it comes down to. Ill mental health, because you feel as if you are wrong. There is something wrong with you because you don't fancy the opposite sex to what you are. Or you fancy, the same sex, and because you've not been told that's okay, your brain goes west and it can't cope. So government, what are you doing to our younger generation? What are you doing to our community? You're being very disrespectful. I mean, in 2024 there are millions of alternative family groupings now. Are you going to exclude them? Are you not going to discuss them? And the repercussions of that is going to be the child that comes from that same-sex family environment are going to think that it's wrong because it's not being seen as normal in their school. It's just being eradicated. And the only way to have a healthy, normal, in inverted commas, relationship is to be heterosexual, because we reproduce and we create babies that way. Well, no, there's lots of other ways that we do that. And it should all be discussed. It's so wrong. It's so wrong what you've done. And the parents of children who are concerned about the implementation of sexual education, because they've said some schools have got it wrong. Well, government, you've took a very long time to offer guidance and support to your educational environments in schools. If you would have had something in place from the very beginning to help support your teachers, then they would have gone through those guidelines and taught appropriately to what level you suggest, and the content that you suggest that should be in for that age group. That's not the teacher's fault, that's not the school's fault, that's the government's fault, okay? Get your facts right. It's the government's fault for not supporting the education system through this very particularly tricky subject. It shouldn't be tricky. It should just be honest. And what's a teacher going to do when, now in high school, a young person comes up to them and says, I'm really depressed, I feel suicidal, I'm having really serious issues about who I am. I don't know if I'm gay or transgender, and I'm feeling really unstable. Now that educator has now got to say, oh, I'm sorry, the government has stipulated that we're not allowed to discuss anything like that in school. Bye. Good luck. I suggest that you all write to your councillors and members of parliament, especially now that the elections have been announced for July. If Labour is potentially going to be taken over, I would suggest that we all contact our Labour MPs and councillors to ask what the Labour's stance is on this particular subject. Because I know I will. Mr. Peter Doward will be getting an email off me very, very soon, because I want to know what their stance is, how they're gonna treat this situation, because it's just not right. You're gonna have a lot of young people very confused, harming themselves, feeling suicidal, needing antidepressants. It's not fair. It's just not fair. Can we do something about it together, please? Because it's just not right. I'm extremely concerned and worried to the point where I'm thinking of setting something up to offer support to queer young people, because there isn't that much out there for support, and it's really sad. So please send emails, please send letters to your councillors or members of parliament, and just ask them what the stance is from Labour, and then put a complaint in with the Conservative MPs in your area or councillors, and just say you disagree. And teachers, please stand up. Please respect your students. Please tell the government that you're not happy with what they've done, that it's not right, and that you want to be able to be that open book for a young person to feel comfortable talking to you about their situations based around sexuality and gender, because you could be saving someone's life in doing so. And I'm talking from past experience here. You could be saving that young person's life, rather than just dismissing it and saying, sorry, the government said we can't discuss this in school. Do you really want to be that person that says that to a young person in crisis? This can happen from any age. I'm not just talking teenagers, I'm talking at any age. I was pretty sure that I was a lesbian from the age of 4, the age of 5. It just took me quite a few years to navigate the whole process, because there was no one in my immediate family that was gay or lesbian or bisexual I know of, or in the community even. It wasn't discussed, it wasn't talked about. And I was depressed, and I was suicidal. And it was horrible, and it's really affected me even into adulthood. So I'm talking from past experience here. I'm not just making things up. This is real, this really happens. Don't allow statistics to go higher in suicide rates in young people because you couldn't simply have a conversation with them. We should be empowering our young people and allowing them to express themselves however they feel, as long as they're not causing harm to themselves or anybody around them. Are you a nice person? Yeah? Tick. Cool. Tick that box. You're a nice person, you're a decent person, you contribute to society in a positive way. Fabulous. Like, what right have we got to tell anybody else who they are and who they should be? What right do any of us have? We should be respectful to our fellow humans, because if they're asking those kinds of questions about gender identity and sexuality, they're going through really serious traumatic headspace situations. Like, that's not something to just be dismissed as if it's not important. It's very, very serious. But yeah, get writing your emails and letters, please. I would really appreciate it if you could do that. Thank you.